super excited today because I am wearing a piece unique. And I have a few of these really cool watches here. But before I mess everything up and tell you the wrong information, why don't we bring in the guy who actually made these watches?
Hello, everybody.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for bringing these.
My pleasure.
We're gonna talk about them, okay? But first, I have prepared something. What's your favorite color?
Black.
Apart from watches, what's your favorite hobby?
Cars. Horses.
What's your all-time favorite watch brand apart from yours?
All-time favorite. Quick. Damn. Grubel Forsey.
And what watch are you wearing right now?
I can't afford to wear my own watches.
Why?
It's that phenomenon where this is gonna be a longer one, but bear with me, okay?
Let's find that out because
it's like
I planned this.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. No, because watches, the minute they're finished, they're not interesting to me anymore. You know?
Wow. So you're more into creating them than wearing them.
Yeah, it's about the design, the creation, and then, I'm always thinking of making a watch for myself. And I'm excited, I design every detail, then I make it, and then when it's done, it's like a week, and then next. So finished watches, not even. I mean, I recently bought a watch.
Okay.
I bought a really basic Monaco because I love the design. I've had it for 2 weeks, and I gave it to a friend. Because I'm like, okay, I wore this, I've had my fun with it, and I gave it to Philippe Narbel. Because I stopped by his shop and he was like, you have a Monaco, it's one of my favorite designs, because he's into the square watches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wear it.
There are a lot of people that may not know you because but no, more importantly, like your watches are something very new. This is a very new phenomenon. Resonance, you're doing differential tourbillons, perpetual calendars, making 3 to 5 watches a year.
Not exactly A to Z. Yes, I have the machines, yes, I have the know-how, if that's not too bold of me to say, to make the watch completely. But we use gear trains. We use gear trains for sustainability. It's a big ego trip to make the whole gear train, and I've done it. But at some point, I'm not going to be around, especially with the way I drive. And, somebody's going to have to get the watch fixed. It's a big problem to find a watchmaker who can actually cut gears, who can actually repair gears. These watches, as unique as they may look, they share pretty much the same gear train that's borrowed from an existing movement. And you can swap jewels. Your watch falls on the floor, you get a cracked jewel, you can swap it for an existing one. Damaged teeth, worn out and everything, you can swap the pinion for an existing one because it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's more durable.
Before we get into, because I want to go through all of them.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I just want to understand. Let's hear about how a former law student who lives on a farm,
failed law student,
who lives on a farm with horses, end up creating perpetual calendars with not everything, but a lot of it still being done by you. And for some of them, you have worked with other suppliers for the cases, for example, but some cases you have developed yourself. How did this all happen?
Short version is I'm stubborn and I drink a lot. And no, seriously, like the whole watchmaking thing, that was a drunk idea. I want a watch, but I don't want something that I wear on my wrist and see in every shop window everywhere I go. But I couldn't afford a unique, right? I couldn't, because I was 18, I was 20, I was broke. I was broke until about 3 years ago. No, seriously, it was a struggle. But I was even more broker in my 20s than I was in my 30s. I was making knives at the time for 3-4 years. We had some equipment already in the workshop, And my dad's like, "Oh, make a watch. How hard can it be? You're gonna have to bleep that." The whole thing for me started with the movie from Tarantino, Kill Bill.
Okay.
Everybody wanted a Japanese sword.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it. Obviously, that's a whole theme with me, you know. So I made one. But then I realized it's a lot of work for a very simple thing, because you have a lot of grinding, and it's not that interesting. It's not just a piece of metal. It's a Japanese sword. It's amazing, but it's just a piece of metal. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try folding knives, because there's the mechanics, you know.
Yeah.
Like a junkie, that increase in dosage of the mechanics has kept me going for a while. Now I started making automatic knives because there's more mechanics, right? And you can kind of see a theme developing with this. Like the more mechanics, the more fiddly bits and the more problems you create for yourself that you can then solve, the more interesting it is.
Yeah.
Right?
And the more challenging, it's like you're upping your difficulty level.
You're upping the dosage, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's an
addiction.
It's an addiction. I call, and I can believe I get away with it. I call my clients to their faces. I call them junkies. I call them you are drug addicts.
But that's a known thing. Watch collecting is like, everybody says it's an addiction. But I never knew of like watchmaking as an addiction.
No, I mean,
until I met you.
Like the second you stop pushing yourself, for me it's the moment you start dying.
Oh, it's a mindset, right? Like that's and I think this answers the question perfectly, summarizes perfectly why you don't wear a watch, because you're always like wanting to create. Like creation makes you happier than consumption.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from a few cars, I don't care about owning pretty much anything.
Let's talk about these.
Let's start from this one. This is 39 with tantalum case, nickel silver movement, and it has 1 second remontoire, date, and a moon phase.
Walk me through this. How did you? What's happening here?
I'm not gonna tell you like a fancy story, like I came up with this design while sitting on a rock in the Pacific or some shit. So then it's not anything like
Prepare
romantic
to be
or fancy.
Brutally honest with everyone.
This was really heavily influenced by the client, because he wanted this, he wanted this design. Some people have called this Roger Smith on cocaine.
Yeah.
Which I take as a huge compliment. Yeah, this you can see these 3 watches and this one, and you can tell that this one is not entirely my style.
Yeah, it's a bit more formal.
Yeah, it's trying to be formal.
These are rock stars, and then this guy is like a bit more dressy.
Yeah, it was a trip out of my comfort zone, but you never like say no to trip out of your comfort zone.
So you're completely self-taught
with books.
Wow.
With books, trial and error, and of course I have friends I can call. You know, I'm kind of proud of like calling them less and less. Like now when I call my friends, it's about normal everyday bullshit and not about, look, the watch is not ticking as it should. I don't have any formal watchmaking education.
Okay, let's talk about this. So there's a lot happening here. This is very light. I was not expecting for a watch to have so much going on to be this light.
Well, look at the case. It's full of air, you know. Because it's this is 3D printed titanium meteorite dial / main plate. Because if you look from the back, there's the meteorite as well. Wow. It's one piece of meteorite.
Yeah.
I was bitching about something in the shop, about holders for parts. First thing Philippe tells you is you need a good holder for the parts you're finishing, because he's making multiple parts of the same design. So he has them CNC made from brass. They're really fancy. They're really expensive. We're always just finishing one part. So I was bitching about that, and my cousin was like, "Well, just print it." What? 3D printed? Buy a 3D printer and print them, you know.
So you kind of standardize that process.
Yeah. I had like 5 people ask me exactly what printer I got, and then they went and ordered it. Because it's so simple. You design it in 10 minutes, you print it in 20 minutes, and then you have like a perfect holder for the part you need to finish, and then you can throw it away because it costs you like cents to make.
Yeah. Your watches are very unique, right? So you have different parts, and then you can print the holder according to that part that you need.
Exactly.
So you have a jumping hour, you have deadbeat seconds, a central tourbillon, which is my favorite.
Why don't more brands do it? It's a packaging nightmare. Because you have to have either a large case. The first black hole that I did, I designed it, I don't know, about 3 years before I made it, and I had to figure out a way to make it wearable. Because I didn't want another like 48 by 20 monster, just so I can have the tiny tourbillon in the center. There's like 3 central tourbillons in the history of watchmaking that are actually wearable. It's Omega.
One of them is Omega.
Omega.
That's the only one I know. Okay.
And me.
Yeah.
I'm not building an ego here. This is just how it is.
Yeah.
Everything else is too big, and this, put it on your wrist, you will see that it wears so well.
Exactly. It's kind of for you. It's wearable. It's compact. It sits well on the wrist, but there's still so much going on. And I think I love your philosophy of what you said one time is that you didn't want to waste dial space. You didn't want to like just have empty space on the dials.
I don't like big watches myself. I can pull off like a 48.
Yeah.
Because I have farm hands, right?
Yeah.
I'm very unwatchmaker. I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it till it's somewhere in stone, like chiseled in stone. I'm not a typical watchmaker. I could wear big watches, but it works. You have to run out of options with the central arrangement, because you slap a tourbillon in the center, and then what? The first one I did had that 3D dial with the single hand. This one has 2 hands.
Oh wow!
And I mean, this is, and I've said it before again. This is one of my most mechanically complex pieces because of the packaging, and also because this is a tourbillon with the deadbeat. So it's a cage that has a remontoir, 1-second remontoir built in it. So it's one of the most mechanically complex pieces I've ever made, and it's one of the visually simplest I've ever made.
Yeah.
The dial is held in place with screws from the underside.
Okay.
And there are 2 gears, and the gears are under the dial, and the hands go basically like this. The donut, I heard people call it
that does look like a donut.
some kind of a fancy like toroidal dial, and no, it's a donut, and it was it was supposed to be made from enamel, like on this one. And I made like 5 of the dials, and they kept distorting and changing dimensions. I'm like, dude, can we make it out of mammoth ivory? The owner of this was like, yeah, dude, like the enamel, go mammoth. And then when we did the mammoth dial, I figured let's do a mammoth on the back. This particular mammoth was drawn by a Czech artist called Zdeněk Burian. This is from the cover of one of my favorite books when I was a little kid.
Oh wow!
And the guy did in I think it was 1950 something movie called Journey to the Beginning of the Time. Yeah, I mean, it worked out, I think, for the best, because if this was enamel, it would look
a bit too
new.
Yeah, a bit more
if that's
clinical. Yeah. I love the coffee here.
Yeah. I mean, the tastes you have here, like your Central European head will explode from it. Like seriously, that's crazy. So this one is 38mm, 1 minute tourbillon, with enamel dials and blue hands. This is a really simple watch. I don't know what to tell you about it. How much more I can tell you, because it's.
This is why, like
It's
this
a
is
very
why he's
simple
not a
thing.
marketing person. He doesn't know.
I'm not.
You can't bullshit even if you tried. That's the
I
point.
might start trying, but no, seriously, there is a story. Okay,
Yeah.
I came up with marketing. Listen, because this is going to be fantastic. This one, when we first met, when I was here last year,
Yeah.
you saw the Minion,
Yes.
and when I was making that one back then, I knew already it had to be made into a tourbillon version someday. This is the watch.
Alright, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully I'll see you again and we'll talk more.
Yeah.
Let's see what the future holds for Hodinky Berkus.
Thank you.